You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive. Power Agent.
Welcome to the Power Agent Blogcast. We're diving into building a winning real estate team, something that's really key for any agent who's looking to expand their business.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the real estate industry is, it's constantly changing, and those that are able to really build and manage, these successful teams, I think they have a big advantage out there.
I think we hear a lot about teamwork, and one quote comes to mind from Henry Ford. He said, "Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success." So how does that kind of resonate when we're talking about building a real estate team?
Well, that quote, I think it really captures the essence of it. It's not just about getting a bunch of talented people together in a room, but, creating a group that is cohesive, that can, work through the challenges, celebrate those victories, and really, work towards success.
So let's break down some of these essential roles that are needed to lay the foundation for a team. Where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with the heart of the operation, the team leader. This individual is really the one that sets the vision. They chart the course for the team. They're the ones making sure that everyone is aligned with the goals, not only of the team, but also of the company. They're really the driving force for success.
So the leader can't do it all alone, though.
Yeah.
Right? So who else is really vital to the team's success?
Well, you've got to have buyer's agents. They're the ones out there, working with the clients, guiding them through the home buying process. They have to be, skilled negotiators, good communicators, and really passionate about helping their clients find that, perfect dream home.
And then you have, I guess on the other end, you have listing specialists who are really kind of experts in marketing in their own right. They need to understand how to showcase a property, really make those materials stand out, and bring in the right buyers.
Exactly. And, in today's world, you can't forget about the marketing coordinator. I mean, this role is really indispensable. They're handling everything online, social media, the lead generation campaigns, and really making sure that the branding is consistent across all the platforms.
And then, of course, you have the transaction coordinator who really, kind of the unsung hero, making sure that everything goes smoothly from, contract to close, taking care of all the paperwork deadlines, all the communication between all the parties.
Absolutely crucial to have a transaction coordinator. And then finally, we have the administrative assistant who provides that support to the entire team, managing schedules, organizing files, and really just making sure that, the day-to-day operations run smoothly.
So we've got our crew here, but let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about the people, the human element of team building. How do we keep our team engaged? How do we keep them motivated over the long term?
Yeah.
Because I think high turnover can really disrupt a team's flow.
You're absolutely right. Building the team is only half the battle. Keeping that top talent is really where the challenge lies. And, it all starts with building a positive team culture. And that's, it's more than just having fun together, right? It's about fostering an environment of open communication, mutual respect, and really a shared sense of purpose.
So almost creating a work environment where people feel valued, where they feel heard, a place where they actually want to show up to every day.
Yeah, exactly. When team members feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, when they feel like their contributions are recognized and that, they're supported in their own professional growth, they're more likely to stay engaged and really, committed to the team's success.
So how can team leaders, practically foster that type of environment? What are some tangible strategies that they can implement to really promote long-term retention?
Right. Well, one really powerful strategy is to prioritize professional development. So, offering workshops, training programs, mentorship opportunities, it really shows that you are committed to your team's growth. This not only helps them enhance their skills, but it also shows them that you're invested in their future.
It's investing in the future of your team and equipping them to really kind of navigate that ever-changing real estate landscape. It shows that you're not just interested in what they can do for you today, but in their long-term success.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of team bonding.
Right.
Organizing, social events, team building activities, or even just casual get-togethers outside of work can go a long way to strengthen relationships and just foster that sense of camaraderie.
Yeah. Those activities allow team members to connect on a more personal level.
Yeah.
Build trust and create some shared memories. which I think ultimately contribute to a more, cohesive and enjoyable work environment.
Absolutely. Creating that positive team culture is an ongoing process. It requires constant effort, open communication, and, a genuine desire to create a workplace where people feel valued, they feel supported and motivated to really achieve their best.
So we've talked about the essential roles. We've talked about the importance of keeping that team engaged. Let's move on to, I think, a really important part, which is a recruitment. How do you actually attract the right talent and ensure that you're building a team that really aligns with your vision and values?
Well, finding the right people is absolutely paramount. It's not just about, ticking boxes on a resume. It's about identifying individuals who really resonate with your team's culture, who complement each other's strengths and share a similar work ethic.
So it's almost like, building a puzzle where each piece has to fit perfectly to create a cohesive and functional whole. So what are some practical steps that, real estate professionals can take to make sure they're attracting the right talent?
Well, first, you got to define your ideal team member. Really outline those specific skills, experience, and personality traits that you're looking for. Think about how those potential candidates align with your team's values and long-term goals. That clarity is really going to guide your recruitment process.
So it's not just finding someone who can, close deals. It's finding somebody that actually fits into that team dynamic and contributes to the overall success of the team.
Precisely. And once you have a clear picture of that ideal team member, you can leverage all the different recruitment channels that are out there. Utilize online platforms, industry events, even referrals from your own network. Casting a wide net is really going to increase your chances of finding the right candidates.
And during the interview process, how can you go beyond just looking at resumes and asking,
Yeah.
those standard questions? How do you really gauge whether that candidate's going to be suitable for the team?
Behavioral interview questions are so valuable. Ask candidates to describe, specific situations where they've demonstrated teamwork, their problem-solving skills, resilience. Their responses are really going to give you insights into their actual work style and how they handle those real-world challenges.
So you're looking for concrete examples of how they've actually navigated past situations, which is much more telling than just, hypothetical scenarios.
Exactly. And don't underestimate, trial periods or shadowing opportunities.
Yeah.
Allowing potential candidates to really experience, a day in the life of your team can provide them with a realistic preview of the role and give you a chance to observe their skills and how they interact firsthand.
It's almost like a win-win, The candidate can make a more informed decision. You can kind of get a better sense of their compatibility with the team dynamic.
You got it. Now, even with the most meticulous recruitment process, building a team isn't without its challenges. And, one common hurdle is managing different personalities and work styles. So how do you, foster collaboration? How do you minimize conflict when you have such a diverse group of individuals?
That's a great point. I mean, it is human nature for people to have different approaches to work. So how can a team leader effectively navigate those differences and create an environment where everyone feels respected and valued?
Communication is key. Establish those clear communication channels, encourage open dialogue, regular team meetings, one-on-one check-ins, and even just those informal brainstorming sessions can really help to make sure everyone is on the same page and has a platform to voice their, opinions and concerns.
So it's about creating that safe space where people feel comfortable expressing themselves and knowing that their perspective is going to be heard.
Absolutely. And, don't shy away from addressing conflict directly. Unresolved tension, that can really fester and erode team morale. So encourage team members to communicate their grievances constructively and really facilitate conflict resolution sessions when necessary.
So it's not about avoiding conflict. It's about having a healthy way to address it and finding solutions that, benefit the entire team.
Exactly. Another challenge that real estate teams often face is maintaining motivation and preventing burnout, especially in such a fast-paced and demanding industry. So how can team leaders ensure that, their team members stay energized and stay committed to their goals?
Yeah, that is a real concern. And, that can significantly impact productivity and team morale. So what strategies can leaders implement to kind of prevent that and foster a more sustainable work environment?
Well, recognizing and celebrating achievements, both big and small, is important. Acknowledging individual and team successes that really boosts morale and reinforces those positive behaviors, whether it's, closing a challenging deal, a successful marketing campaign, or just simply going above and beyond. Find those ways to, acknowledge and appreciate your team's efforts.
Yeah, those public displays of recognition, genuine appreciation go a long way in motivating team members and creating that sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely. And don't forget the importance of work-life balance. Encourage team members to take breaks, to utilize their vacation time, and to set boundaries to prevent that burnout. A well-rested and rejuvenated team is a more productive and engaged team.
It's about recognizing that people have lives outside of work, and respecting those boundaries can lead to greater loyalty and commitment in the long run.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where team members feel challenged, they feel motivated, while also feeling, supported and valued. When you create that kind of environment, success really does follow naturally.
It's clear that building and managing a winning real estate team requires, constant attention and effort. What are some of the key takeaways for our listeners, those who are either leading teams or considering taking that leap?
It's a journey. It requires consistent nurturing and a willingness to adapt and really a commitment to fostering a positive and supportive environment where everyone can kind of, thrive.
So it's not just about assembling those talented people, but creating that shared vision and a culture where everyone feels valued, motivated, empowered to contribute.
You got it. And remember, investing in your team's development is so important.
Mhm.
Providing those opportunities for professional growth, whether it's through training programs, mentorship, industry conferences, whatever it is that shows your commitment to their success.
It's a signal that you're not just interested in what they can do for you right now, but their potential.
Exactly. And as a leader, it's crucial to, foster that open communication, encourage feedback, both positive and constructive. Create a space where they feel comfortable sharing their ideas, concerns, suggestions.
When team members feel heard and their opinions matter, they're going to be more engaged, more invested in the success.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about celebrating those wins, both big and small. Acknowledging those achievements, whether it's closing a tough deal, exceeding a sales target, or just going above and beyond for a client, it reinforces those positive behaviors and boosts morale.
Creating that culture of recognition so that your team feels appreciated and it motivates them to keep striving for excellence.
You're right. Building a winning real estate team, it's an art and a science. It requires a strategic approach, understanding the dynamics of people, and really a commitment to fostering a positive and supportive environment.
And for our listeners out there who are already leading teams or maybe they're aspiring to build one, what's the one piece of advice you would leave them with today?
Invest in your people. Invest in their growth, their well-being, their success. When your team thrives, your business thrives. Yeah, it really is. It's about putting your people first and prioritizing their growth and their well-being, their success. And ultimately, that's what's going to lead to the success of your business.
I love that advice. And I think it's a great note to wrap up on. Building a real estate team, it's a journey, but with the right strategies, that commitment to, constantly getting better and a real passion for empowering your team, I think the rewards are going to be incredible. So to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in to the Power Agent Blogcast. We'll catch you next time.